Welcome back everyone to our gameplay series of Farming Simulator 22. And we've reached the winter time. It is now December and it's time to take a step back and just think about where we've gone to this point and where we might want to go in the future. This is sort of the downside of the winter time here, especially at the beginning of the gameplay, because there's not going to be very much of anything to do. Now we can still work with our greenhouses. They still need water if we want to keep those topped off, but there's nothing to do on the field. So if we come into the calendar, you can see December, January, and really February for that matter, other than cotton, there's really nothing to do on the field. So anything you needed to get done as far as income generation, you better already had done up until this point. And of course for us, we've done quite a bit of field work, working with the cereals, turning that into bread. But then we got into the greenhouse business, and that has proven to be quite profitable. So if we come over to the current pricing and we find, where is it at? Bread. There we go. So our best price right now, if we were selling this manually, would be about $4,600. And if we think back to September, what the price of bread was, it was somewhere around the $3,800 to $4,000 mark. So that'll give you an idea. As we've looked at these fluctuations on this chart, well, it doesn't really tell us anything in and of itself because there are no numbers on here. All we know is that it's much better to sell, in December or January than it is to sell back here during the summer. Now we have a little bit better idea of what those fluctuations are, and it seems like the fluctuations are $500 to $600, maybe $700, and that's what you're seeing on this graph. So again, just gives us a little bit better idea, not near as much as I thought it might be, as I figured the developers might be giving us a very wide swing here in prices to give us incentive to hold things off until certain times of the year to sell them. But it looks like it's not quite as much as I originally thought. Certainly enough to take notice of and plan around for sure, but maybe not quite as much as I had originally thought. So now, again, here in December, let's take a moment to think about sort of where we are. Okay, so right now you can see we've spent a whole bunch of money. August, September, we spent a whole bunch of money on, we spent money on vehicles. Of course, that's when you get into the big harvesters. That's where that money went to, a lot of big tractors, that kind of thing, which I have held on to. We could have sold off quite a bit of our equipment or simply returned it, the stuff that we had been leasing, but I've chosen to hold on to it just for simplicity's sake more than anything. But here you see all of our land purchases. We now have a total of 4 fields, 3 of those that we have planted with wheat now for the coming year. And then the final one is where our greenhouses reside. We've got construction cost here with various things, including the greenhouses. And then we got our new vehicle cost. So we've spent quite a bit of money, and we're down to about $250,000. But if we come down to the income, so our sold products area, right now this is at $20,500. Well, and we're about, a little after 8 o'clock in the morning. So triple that, and that's about what we're going to get for the full day. So we're around 60 grand a day. So you can see it has been growing as we get our greenhouses up and running and they're at full strength and operating 24/7. So this is a very good source of income. And of course, on top of that, we've got our bread that is being worked on from the flour. So if we come into the production chains, okay, we know where their greenhouses are doing, but this is an area where we're definitely going to need some work in the coming years if we're going to continue on as we have been. So if you remember, we were dealing mostly with wheat flour, but then we got a little bit into oats and sorghum. But beyond that, something that I found really interesting is that even with as much wheat as we put in here and flour overall, or excuse me, the raw materials overall, we did not overwhelm the storage or the production because it got done within just a few months. So it did not take long, probably 2, maybe 3 months at the most, for it to process all of that wheat, oat, and sorghum that we put in here, and then it was done. So I feel very good about our grain mill. Unless we just start to really overwhelm it with too much of any one thing, I think we're going to be fine there. Where we're not going to be fine is our bakery. You can see our bakery still has absolutely tons of flour. This is where all of our money is sitting right now, folks. Okay, so if we take a look, and again, we could have done this back at the very beginning, but for me, honestly, a lot of this stuff is more fun for me to just learn on the fly rather than to spreadsheet everything and come up with numbers ahead of time. But this is where our money is sitting. It's sitting here in the bakery in flour, and we're simply waiting as this gets converted over to bread, and then of course, we've got it being sold out automatically. Now, I've got some thoughts on that we'll come back to here in just a moment. But with the bread and the bakery side of things, I'm thinking we're going to need at least 3 bakeries. And I think 3 bakeries will get our money a lot sooner. Okay, obviously, we're still going to get our money. That's not going to be the problem. It's just that it's going to take a very long time. And this amount of flour sitting in here, I mean, you can see we've barely made a dent. And on top of that, you can see it almost fully filled up the storage here. So we're definitely going to have to expand our bakery operation. I'm thinking 3 bakeries, and we'll see how that goes, because this one immediately is going to be not far from filled up, because remember, the next time we harvest, this should be quite a bit lower, but still probably not empty. So just something to think about in the future. And if in your own gameplays, if you hopefully have already accounted for this. But again, here we have a fully filled up storage for bread. And now we're simply going to have to wait for all this to work itself out. But again, looking at purchasing at least 2 more of these. And I'm going to assume that our bakeries will work in the same fashion as we need them to, meaning that as the flour is finished and it gets distributed, that it will distribute it evenly amongst all of the bakeries that we have. So if we have 2 bakeries, it'll simply, split it in half, in thirds for 3, and so on. So that's sort of the plan in that area. Now, let's come back out to the map for just a second. And I want to show you guys where I'm at on the map, and then let's talk about why I'm over here. So right now I am sitting, if we bring back the main map, I'm sitting down here in the southeastern portion of the map. You can see we've got quite a bit going on there. There's a small farm, a base farm here. Right now we can't really get inside any of these buildings, which is a bit unfortunate. And then we've got this little icon right here is what you're seeing right there. There's your water tower. There's our small farm right there in the corner. So where I'm standing is actually just off to the side here of field 73. And the reason I'm standing here is because I'm thinking about future expansion down in this area. And I'm not thinking about cereals for this one. The cereals I'm ready to just sort of let go for a bit, and let's just let this mature a little bit by adding, as we've talked about, some more bakeries there and trying to really work on that process without adding any additional fields to it. Instead, I'm thinking about adding clothes, which seems like an odd thing to do in Farming Simulator, but clothes are very attractive to me at this point. So if we take a look at some of the farmland here, you notice that if I buy field 73, I get all of this with it. So it's a huge package deal. Now, it's valued at $429,000, basically $430,000, but look at how much land we get for this. And as I'm standing here, we get quite a bit. And of course, we can get rid of some of this. That's not a problem. And we've got, oh, what is that? What is that? Oh, carpentry. Okay, so we don't really have any use for that building. But look at all of this land that we've got. And of course, right now it's got grass on it, which means that it is an amazing opportunity for us to get up and running with anything that needs grass. Now, of course, these other fields, as time goes on, if we don't purchase them, they will have other things planted on them. But you can see, I mean, they got lime spread on a few of these fields. So the game is keeping things going as if a real farmer actually owns these fields. But this is a huge area. So I'm thinking that we could use some sheep running around over here. So we just have to figure out where we want to put everything. I'm not sure exactly yet because I've just sort of started thinking about this after looking around. I mean, there's plenty of options that we could do up here, but I'm thinking we might could put some sheep right up here in this area. In fact, let's just go ahead and hop in. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to construct anything up here right now, but if we look at sheep, all right, we come up here, it can handle 65 sheep, which really doesn't tell us anything in and of itself, but we could fit a couple of these right up here in this area, and that really not spoil any of our farmland down below that. But I'm thinking a couple of these should give us a decent amount of wool and really should work out quite well. Now, let's see, where are we getting? Looks like here on the bottom edge might be where we would get our wool, but I can't tell exactly from there. But it does tell me that we could fit at least 2 of these right in this area, and that's assuming that we don't get rid of any of these trees over here as well. So I like that idea. They're not going to cost all that much, and we'll just have to see how much wool that would be should we decide to go that route. So this is just something to think about for the future, and our sheep operation that I really think would fit quite nicely down in this area. In fact, who knows? I mean, this is a lot of farmland overall down here. We might be able to fit some other animals, maybe some cows or something as well down in this area. And don't forget, we've got more land right over here that is just adjacent to this. So I think we're in very good shape. Now, if we hop back over, here you see our greenhouses. Let's actually look to see. Where are we on these greenhouses as far as water? Okay, we're doing perfectly fine. I believe that's going to be a little over a day as far as the use of water there. So yeah, everything is looking absolutely fantastic on this. The amount of money we're making from this is really good. So 40,000, a little over 40,000 yesterday, and we're looking at even more than that today here in December. So again, we've got more money that's coming here in December, January, and February, when we can't really grow anything, because you can see even the grass doesn't grow during the wintertime. It looks like you can harvest it, assuming you haven't already done so before it stops growing, but no planting of the grass even here in the wintertime. So we're going to have to wait till about March before we can really start to do anything in the field. And I'm thinking that in March, grass is where we want to be, which means that I'm thinking about purchasing that land we were just at in the southeastern portion of the map. So that's an idea that I have on where we can go in the future, but we're still a couple of months away from that. So at this point, I am going to leave you for today. I know today's video is a little bit on the short side, but hey, that's kind of where we are with the seasons as of now. But as we move forward in our series, we're going to have animals. We're going to have other things that will keep us busy here in the wintertime. But one last thing that I did tell you guys that I wanted to share with you, and that is about our bread production. So we've talked about the bread production. Right now we have it on automatic. And right here you can see the weeds have just overgrown. Can you tell the area that the AI does not spray for the weeds? You can tell. There's a certain portion of it it does not get to, and this just leads me to believe once and for all that I probably do need to cut this field off a little bit, like right up there, right across, and just leave this area at the top, because the AI just simply don't work it. So again, something else that we will keep in mind. But on the bread production, so one thing I have thought about doing is if we take this off of auto sell, which is where we are at the moment, and we could simply come in and collect all of these crates, because I believe the bread is actually in crates instead of pallets in this case. So we could come and grab all of these crates that you see sitting out here that are not going to be sold on their own. Never mind the fact that they've been left out here for now a few months. But we could collect these and put them somewhere. You know, granted, I mean, they are on pallets, but I can pick these up. Oh, can I not pick these up? Oh, no, it says it's too heavy. I could have sworn I moved one of those earlier. All right, so we'll simply get our pallet jack and we'll come in here and move those. But where could we put them? Well, I'm thinking we might just put a bit of storage like right over here in this area and just simply keep these stored until, well, right about now, December or January. But that is just an idea for the future if we want to make sure that we're getting the absolute top dollar for all of our bread. But again, I've got tons of ideas. It's a little bit slow here at the start as we are a little bit shorter on money and short on time at this particular point in our gameplay series. But that is going to do it for today. I will bring you guys back next time when it is springtime, and it's time to buy some more land and get busy with some animals. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and stick around for more Farming Simulator 22.